Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to tomorrow's weather today. I know it's been a while since I've last made a video, and it will probably be sporadic videos at most, um, but I will try to make as many videos as possible. Um, but today we're going to be talking about potential tropical cyclone 3, which is in the Gulf of Mexico right now. It was designated, it was Invest 92L, and is now potential tropical cyclone 3 as it is set to impact land within the next few days. Looking at visible satellite imagery of it right now, it looks very disorganized. Um, what I'm seeing over here is I'm seeing a lot of outflow boundaries, um, and I'll circle one in particular, this right here. That is an outflow boundary from thunderstorms that weekend over there, which is showing over here. You can see all the dry air um, over in this area with all the moisture off on the eastern side with a fetch of moisture coming off uh, on the eastern side, and we will see that on the models and on water vapor imagery. I'm seeing some sort of low here. I think this is, if I had to guess, this is from an MCS that moved off from here. I don't believe this is the main center because it is backing to the southwest. But overall, the center is this system is very disorganized right now, and we can see that on the aircraft that was in there earlier with a lot of very light winds, 30 knots at most. Tropical storm status would be 34 knots or 39 miles per hour. But we can see some northerly winds here on the western side, coming down here and then shifting to the south on the eastern side. Um, so it looks like a very elongated area of low pressure right in here would be my guess. You can definitely see three different areas right in here, but I think this is just all one area of low pressure that is very elongated. Looking at our water vapor imagery of the system, we can see that it is entangled in an upper level trough right in here. Um, you can kind of see the winds going like that, um, going out of the west down here, and then turning to the south here, and then turning back to the west. Um, Over the past few days, there was some speculation that the winds were going to start coming out of the southeast at in the upper levels, but that has not happened. We still have the southerly winds, the southwesterly across the system, which is shearing it. We got a large fetch of moisture coming over the Yucatan Peninsula into the storm, which is giving us our moisture on the eastern side of the system. This will probably look like a typical early season storm where we have basically this comma head shape uh, with very little precipitation on the western side due to a lot of shear. Taking a look at the GFS model, we can see what we have here. We have at the 850 millibar level, we have a very a very large area of spin, and because of, if we go back, we have all these thunderstorms on the eastern side. The center will these thunderstorms will cause vorticity or spin in the atmosphere, which will in turn lower the pressure. And we can see that happen on the GFS with the focusing of this with the focusing of vorticity on the northeastern side with the still very messy system. And it even looks like that into landfall, and it looks very disorganized and elongated into landfall. We still have this large fetch of southerly winds on the eastern side, which shows the moisture coming in, and we can see that on the relative humidity map. So we can see our low pressure system right here, and we have all these blues and greens on the eastern and north side, which will give us that comma head shape. And then on the western side of the low very dry air being entrained into the system. This is being caused. Um, this is going to cause no precipitation on the western side of the system. Now, if we go to the 250 millibar winds, you can see what I'm talking about here. Um, right now, we have basically the southern wind to southeasterly or southwesterly over the system down here. You can see that upper level trough in here as well. As we move out, our storm isn't here at this moment right there with the southwesterly flow aloft, which is shearing the system. If we take an area average sounding over this area, we could see that there is 22 knots of shear, which is sizable. We can see that right there with that number. And even into landfall, we can see more of a southerly wind, which wouldn't be as bad for shear, but it would still be shearing it, which is a good thing because less winds will help along the coast. Let's look at this is new on Tropical Tidbits. Let's look at the wave height. We can see this is going to really so storm surge is a big threat with this. We will see that on the NWR, the National Hurricane Center forecast, but we can see that waves getting up to about 12 feet hitting along the coast, and this long fetch of winds, or these are the directions of the swells, um, and that's going to be a large push of water um, onto the coast, the Gulf Coast, which will cause storm surge. And if we look at our 10-meter winds, we can see that large fetch of winds as well, possibly getting up to tropical storm strength, pushing water onto the coast. Now, if we take a look at our satellite, our infrared average or simulated GFS by the GFS, we can see that heavy precipitation or deeper, taller clouds on the western or the eastern side of the track with no clouds at all on the western side. And the precipitation, we can see that as well as we're making landfall here Saturday or Friday night, early Saturday. This is 2 a.m. Central, or 2 a.m. Um, I think this is Eastern time. This is Eastern time. 2 a.m. Eastern time. We can see our low pressure system coming into Louisiana with all the precipitation on the eastern side, with the west side being completely dry. Now, what is the GFS saying for rainfall? And then the remnants of the system moves into Alabama and possibly even to the Carolinas and then goes off the coast. Let's take a quick look at the European, what this has showing up with the trend, with what they're showing. We could see a low pressure system, again, not overly strong, but making landfall early Saturday morning in Louisiana. Again, with that comma head shape, with the precipitation on the north and eastern side mainly. If we look at 200 millibar winds, again, we can see that upper level trough that I was talking about right in here in the wind barbs. You have that southerly wind and then that westerly wind as you get up towards the shore. And again, we have this southwesterly, west southwesterly winds at 200 millibars shearing the system. Now, can we see bulk shear? If we look at bulk shear, I don't think this is really good. This is more of for severe weather, so we're not going to pay attention to that. But if we look at upper air moisture, let's just go to 500. Let's go to 500 millibars. If we go to the landfall, uh, close to landfall, which is, we were saying it was 60, but we're not going to get that. So 12Z, Oh, no, we do get that. I'm sorry. Right here, again, we can see all that moisture on the eastern and northern side of the system. So, no matter where this tracks, I believe eastern Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama will get the worst of this weather, regardless of this is a named system at the time. If we take a look at the NHC forecast, we can see that we have tropical storm warnings up from the central Louisiana coast all the way through Alabama, the Alabama coast. They have this landfall as a tropical storm around 2 a.m. Saturday, and we can see that with their discussion, they only expect us to get up to a 45-mile-an-hour system at landfall, which is right here. Um, Again, I don't expect much impacts for the western side of the system. And if we take a look at the rainfall amounts, you can see that they had the track of the system coming into here, around here. And again, the eastern side is going to get the most impacts, where we could see upwards of 10 inches of rain along the Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama coast, with less amounts going inland, upwards of 4 to 6 inches, with isolated heavier spots in Alabama and Mississippi. Panhandle of Florida getting in on that 4 to 6 inch range as well. Taking a look at the peak surge, we can see upwards of 2 to 3 feet right now, as the landfall point is coming in about like this, with 2 to 3 feet on the eastern side, where that water will be pushed from the waves and the wind. Flooding is going to be a major concern. A moderate risk right now. This could be upgraded to a high risk on Sunday. This is 3 days out. And we have a slight risk on Thursday for Saturday. This is through Saturday morning, so Friday, basically all of Friday, we have a slight risk along the coast for flash flooding, and then also a moderate risk on Sunday or for Saturday. What I want to point out is that with this landfall likely being in central Louisiana, let's go back to the uh, cone here. A landfall point here would also mean that isolated tornadoes are possible, um, as shear is favorable. If we go to Saturday, we can see the SPC has a marginal risk out for the Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi coastlines, mainly for tornadoes. Let's see if a developing tropical cyclone is forecasted to affect portions of the northern Gulf Coast states on Saturday, although movement predictability is a bit low. That said, ample tropical moisture is forecast to surge north along and east of the low, along with strong low-level shear. Wind speeds at 850 millibars are forecast to exceed 50 knots, which will result in favorable photographs for a tornado threat where ML Cape is sufficient. So where thunderstorms can get going, Saturday we will have to watch for tornadoes as well. That will be it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. Thank you all so much for watching.